shape, or form, right? When I start, my weight is going into Ethan through my chest, right? Nice and heavy chest pressure here. My knees are really wide, so I can drop my hips as far as they'll go. And Ethan's chest is basically keeping my body up, right? From here, when I want to make my transition, first thing, or the most important thing, is going to be this hand on the hip here, right? What this does is, this allows my forearm to help kind of block and make sure that his legs are staying framed away. And also I can use my hand here to keep track of his hip. If he starts running away from me with his hips, right, I'm going to be able to always have this point of contact, so I know where he is in space, so I can, adjust accordingly. What is that? Kinesthetic awareness kind of thing? All right, so this I really like. This forearm thing across the belt, I'll do just in general while I'm in side control, right? Especially if someone really likes bringing their knees up, right? And trying to make space here, I can block that, right? When I go up into knee on belly, right, I'm pushing down on his hip, right? And now his shoulder and his hip is going to be carrying my weight up until I can get my knee across his belly here, right? And as I bring my knee up, I want as little space as possible, right? I'm not trying to make this big movement and then dropping my knee down. No, what I want to do is my knee is staying in contact the whole time, right? So it's just sliding up into place, right? And we can decide where we want to place it before we take our hands off, right? So if I want a nice control-y style knee on belly, if hip control is my priority, I would like my shin to be going across his belt line, right? That gives me hip to hip connectivity, and the whole bone of my shin can keep his hips flat, right? If he starts turning towards me on his side here, right, I can use this to flatten him back out. Sorry. If I'm looking to maybe break Ethan's ribs or cause a lot of damage or harm or just pain in general, it could happen. The knee on belly you're looking for is more of a down the middle type of thing. This is really good when you can have like belt and lapel grips. I can really like almost pull my knee into that bony part of the solar plexus, right? There's a very fragile bone there, so be careful if you do this to partners you like, you might crack something. I don't do this type of knee on belly anymore because I accidentally broke someone's ribs with it, so it's just not for everyone. But sometimes, it's a self-defense situation or you need to get a point across, it's there. However, with the pain compliance that we might be getting from the knee down the center, we do lose a lot of hip control, right? If I have my shin all the way across his hips here, what happens is if he wants to escape this knee on belly, like if he wants to get my knee to the floor on this side, right, it's got to travel all the way across his abdomen. He's going to have to make a big hip movement. But if my knee is already halfway across his belly, right, it has to travel less far in order for him to escape, so we lose some of that control, right? So depending on the situation, you can read it however you want. My recommendation is always the shin across the hips, right? Because control, I think, is better than pain. It's easier to control his hips, it's easier to stay on top, and it's easier as well to keep this foot tight into his hip, right? Because a good person is going to be active with this hip here, so I need to always be kind of following this hip and this leg to make sure that it doesn't accidentally, he doesn't get a hold of my foot, right? And of course, we don't want him to be able to like do things like scoop underneath here, right? Because that'll start disrupting our connection to his body, right? And I also don't want him to be able to scoop this leg here, right? Also very annoying. So what I look for in doing the on belly is I like this foot for me to be like right at the top of his head, the line of his head, right? And I want my head to be right above Ethan's here, right? Ideally, I want to be able to punch him in the face a couple of times, get that nice shoulder rotation. My proppy knee, whatever you want to call this leg, that's up, not knee on belly, right? I see a lot of people when they start, like they keep it like rigid straight. But what happens is now I have no leeway. If he moves or I need to make an adjustment, if my leg's all like straight all the way, right, I can't extend it anymore to propel myself in this direction. So I want this a little bit bent here so that I can stay mobile, right? Mobility is the name of the game here, right? We're sacrificing a little bit of physical contact and control for our ability to move easily relative to our opponent here. So this is a really good one. If you like dancing around a person, knee on belly is good for helping you avoid the legs, right? If someone's really good at turning on their side and getting their legs in, right? By getting this knee up, I can kind of block that space here while continuing to put pressure on here, making him uncomfortable, making him make bad decisions, and making his life miserable. So usually my entry into knee on belly is from like this sort of head scoop, arm scoop position, right? And I'm starting to feel that they're gonna get their legs in between, right? They're turning onto their side, they're trying to hip and elbow escape, right? So I'm gonna bring my hand to his hip, right? To block that space until I can pop my knee up in a knee on belly. And then I can make choices, right? If he's pushing here, right? I can start collecting arms for either spinning armbar, or I can come up for a nice reverse armbar here, right? If he's exposing his bottom arm, I can flip this elbow up and attach into an armbar on this side for the near side armbar. Bravo choke, or baseball bat choke over here, dropping this down. Right, I use this as I stole this from Evan, but a stop loss technique where he's starting to get away from us when we're in side control, chest on chest. You know, we need to re-flatten him out, we need to put some more pressure on him, we need to, you know, assert our dominance in this situation. And this is a good response when someone's hips start getting away from you. Because, right, with his knee on belly, with his back leg, right, I could really shoot this leg a far distance. So, and it's definitely going to get across his belly, you know, even at his maximum shrimp length, right? So we can try this out, right? How far can you shrimp from here?
From right here?
Like one shrimp. Yeah, right? I can make that distance, right? So this is a good way to follow a person because our back leg really allows us to drive as far as necessary. And then once we get this, so if he's on his side, right? Once we connect this shin to his torso here, right? I can drive him back and flatten him out, right? And by flattening him out, we can really make it so he doesn't have a lot of hip mobility, right? And this is good for us. From knee on belly, if I don't see any arms open, my usual preferred thing to do is to just go into mount, right? We're right here. So hands on the floor, knees dig out under the elbows, and we can come right in there once we see an opportunity. If you want a more technical, like step-by-step way, you don't have to stop scooping the head, right? So I can even come up here, right? Bring this knee across the belly, right? And this is facilitated by my shoulder smashing him here. So, because I need to get my hip side leg light to bring this up, that means I need to lean in this direction, which is super convenient because his face is right there, right? So I can bring this knee up here, right? And I can start slowly getting this knee across here. And now I just gotta clear some space and I'm good to go, right? With this outside arm. And it happens anyway, right? Because it's a person's natural response. They just like, get this thing off me, I'm uncomfortable, I don't like it, right? So people just, even if they've been told time and time again, they still do it, right? So this is something that we need to be waiting for, right? If I put this knee on the floor or on his belly and he starts pushing here, I immediately want to get it onto the space and pull this arm towards me here, right? So now that I have his arm hooked, right? This one I'm going to start thinking about spinning around for a spinning armbar here. So I want to put my hand on the floor. I'm going to pull him towards me a little bit to open up some space behind him, right? And then what I want is I want this knee to swoop up and through, right? So this is going to come down. My foot's going to hook around his shoulder, and I want to spin my butt as close to his shoulder as humanly possible. All right, and I'm going to hold on to his arm here. All right, now I'm going to find his wrist. I'm going to turn his thumb towards his hips so that he can't hitchhiker's escape. Grab the hand and finish here. And pull up. All right, hand plants to the floor. My knee's going to scoop until I can swoop through. Right? Right now we're vulnerable to being hitchhikers escaped, right? So I want to get control of this wrist as soon as I can. Because if I just hug here,
he's gonna hitchhike, right? He goes. Not ideal. Alright, so the sooner I can get control over this wrist, if he hitchhikers now, I can just turn his thumb the other way. Alright? Or worst case scenario, he goes, right, and I'll try and hook his hip here, and we can finish him when he's belly down. Maybe not the worst case, but I definitely need to be aware of this hitchhikers, right? Because when I do the spinning armbar, when I land it first, I don't have any sort of hip control, right? My knee is coming up, my leg isn't across his belly, which would normally give me that connection to his hip to prevent that sort of escape from happening. But since I have this foot here, right, I have two options, right? I can either fall to the head side so I can lighten up this leg to throw it over, but that's gonna take like 2 steps, right? Or I can try and control the wrist and really, really focus on pinching the knees in. And if I can either turn his wrist to prevent him from rolling over, or I can catch his hip as he rolls over. But you know, I'm gonna be able to deal with it in one way or another. Generally, another option is if we can pick this elbow up, right? Same thing, I'm gonna plant my hand so that I can have my weight there, and now I'm gonna drive my ankle and my foot underneath his shoulder here, and I can really drive this knee super deep, right? And now I can hook and step over and finish here, right? Again, same problem. I don't have this leg over his hip, so he might be thinking about hitchhiker escaping, but if I can get this extended and control the wrist here, I'll be able to deal with that problem. Right? So if he starts turning his thumb out and going, right? I'm gonna show that. Okay, so we have control over this arm here. We can pin this down here, and now we're going to just walk our way around from where I'm here, or we can rotate through. So I do a lot of passing with knee on belly here, and then switching. So this is a really good drill to be able to do, right? Going from knee on belly to reverse knee on belly. Right? So just being able to replace it. Right? But I like going to reverse knee on belly because we can start really focusing on attacking the feet here. Right? Plus, like, I'm able to put a lot of pressure in. I've got my back exposed to him, but there's not much he can do to it. Right? Just like this knee bar position where we're over here. If I'm sitting on him, there's not much Ethan can do, right? Without first making me not sit on him first. So here I feel really safe, right? Not really worried about him like doing anything big, crazy movement that I can't deal with, right? I'm looking at his legs, so I know what his hips are going to do, right? Because you know, every sort of hip movement that he's going to be able to do requires his feet being on the floor, right? Then I can start either trying to scoop up some legs for toe holds, or right, we can start isolating things for knee bars, and using on legs for heel hooks. Dancing here, right? And if I can step into this hip and drive this knee, right, then feeling good. What we can do here is I can use my legs to support my arms when I'm trying to grab up on his legs here, right? If I just hook here, right, and try and hold Ethan here, if he puts his foot on the floor, yes, right? If he puts his foot here, like I pretty much have to go with it because I don't have the stability or structure to pull and keep holding it. However, if I start shelving his leg with my leg here, right, it gives my my arm support, right? And I can use my shin bone here to help keep his leg up, right? And I can start isolating it as much as I can. So I can either start pulling this up and attacking this toe hold here, right? Or I can start trying to pull this knee out. Or if I can throw this over and go into this honey hole,